I came up in Boston at a time when there were amazing arts educators floating all throughout the space. Why did I want to get into Boston Youth Theater? Because the young people in the troupe looked like me, they talked like me, there was something I could identify with. These were urban creatives. Then I was able to do what was considered to me one of my big life-changing moments. I was able to audition for a major show in New York that was touring all over Europe called Body and Soul. This was another big grand slam. In an urban context like New York, where everybody and their mama are trying to get into show business, I was able to get a principal role in one of the biggest shows ever in the history of Black Broadway. This is where I met George Faison, Tony Award-winning choreographer and producer that I then started to partner with after that, and therein comes the next big knock it out the park piece. I was signed to Warner Brother Records with a friend of mine named Derek Patterson, now Derek Quest, and we were called Here and Now. Michael Douglas, the actor, took us on and signed us to his record label called Third Stone Records. And from there, we toured the world. We had soundtracks to movies. We were being managed by Dick Scott, who was managing Mark Wahlberg and the New Kids on the Block. And we were a family. We were all Bostonians working in New York and in New Jersey with Dick Scott. Well, after that, I got hooked up with the original idea of Body and Soul, which was Black and Blue. Tony Award-winning musical that started in Paris and then landed on Broadway. Then it went back to tour Europe again. Diane Walker opened the door for me to do that tour with an audition with Claudio Segovia, who was the remaining partner of that duo between Hector and Claudio, who put that together. Incredible experience. When I graduated from high school, I graduated not knowing how to read that well. And so I pushed myself to learn how to read, and the first book that I ever read from cover to cover was Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. So now, this book is, of course, the giant of self-help books in the world. It was the first one of its kind to really make it on the main stage of America and then around the world. And so that was the first book that I ever read. And of course, that stuff is in your head. When you read something really positive and rich like that, you use it in your life in certain ways. Hello, this is Wyatt Jackson here at the Strand Theater in Boston, Massachusetts, excited about the conversation that we're about to have about my favorite book, Think and Grow Rich. So here's the idea. I've been thinking about this book and working with this book for almost 30 years. I got signed to a record label because I followed the principles of Think and Grow Rich. Was able to do 3 international tours because I followed the principles of Think and Grow Rich. And now what I want to do in my company and what we're doing here at the Strand for the next 5 years, we're going to be rolling out a bunch of programming that is all wrapped around the thinking behind Think and Grow Rich. So Imagidata, what is Imagidata? The company takes imagination and flips it with real live data that's happening right now in our communities and around the country, actually. So we build shows, we create product that is the blending, the remixing of imagination and data. So that's where we get the word Imagidata. So now what I'm going to do is give you a quick overview of what this book is about. A man by the name of Andrew Carnegie, one of the richest men in the world at the time, was trying to figure out how to keep his legacy going by creating a book about how people become wealthy. Now, wealth, we're going to talk about in another episode, is not always about money. It can be about family harmony. It can be about your legacy in education. It can be whatever you think wealth is. But he wanted to be specific about how people can become wealthy, rich, if you want to call it that. So he looked around and found a writer by the name of Napoleon Hill. Napoleon Hill took on the whole assignment of writing a book for 20 years with Andrew Carnegie. He connected him to all kinds of people, from Henry Ford to the Woolworth family, you name it. The people who were the industrial age movers and shakers were friends of Andrew Carnegie. So he connected Napoleon Hill to his friends and asked Napoleon Hill to interview them, talking about how they became wealthy. So 20 years later, and with no pay, which is interesting, Napoleon Hill creates the book, The Laws of Success. Now, the book was too thick. It was almost like an encyclopedia. So he figured the average man is not going to read this book. So, as a result, they took that book off the shelf and created Think and Grow Rich. Now, this was just around the time when the Great Depression was just really doing its thing. So people were looking for a way out. They wanted to learn principles on how to earn money and build businesses and start over. So this book became, in a lot of ways, like a blueprint for that generation of people to do well. Well, it turned out they didn't just do well. There were about 500 people in the first couple of years who acquired a lot of wealth. Then it went on to become a classic throughout the years. It's been rewritten over and over. My mentor, Dr. Dennis Kimbrough, wrote the book Think and Grow Rich, A Black Choice, because the Napoleon Hill Foundation was trying to get the information to the African American community. Well, Napoleon Hill died, and their foundation said, look, let's find a writer, a business leader, to take this book on. Dr. Dennis Kimbrough took the book on and became the authority in African Americans doing well. So well that he became the cover picture of Black Enterprise magazine. So now we're about to get into it. And what I want you to do is use your imagination. This is all about the creative class. Now, I'm not talking about just wanting to build a business. I'm talking about creative people. People like myself. I'm a hip hop artist, I'm an actor, and I'm a dancer. All right, so how can I apply the principles of Think and Grow Rich to the work that I do as a creative? Stay tuned.